So we're going to continue with our series, Bitcoin to $1 million. This is where I first started this series, and if you haven't seen the whole series, I suggest you go back to the beginning because this is going to be part of a playlist. But I totally started this series out talking about why I felt like Bitcoin was eventually going to reach $1 million in today's buying power, at 1 million USD today. Why do I think that one day it will reach that? If you go watch that very first video, I give an explanation on it. Now, in the rest of the playlist or the rest of the series, I'm basically covering current events that is proving or showing evidence that that is likely to happen. Now, with that being said, let me just say this. This is not financial advice. This is just my opinion. I'm just an amateur YouTuber who loves to talk about cryptocurrency. I love to play in this space. I buy cryptocurrency. I experiment with all sorts of dApps, etc., etc. By the way, this is a Cryptotab browser. I use this all the time. All right, let's talk about it. So here we go. Trump says the U.S. should start manipulating the dollar. This was as of yesterday, July 3rd. Trump says the U.S. should start manipulating the dollar. Let's talk about this for just a moment. President Donald Trump on Wednesday accused China and Europe of playing a big currency manipulation game. He said the United States should match that effort, a move that directly contradicts official U.S. policy not to manipulate the dollar's value to gain trade advantages. Now, this is a problem, by the way. If you manipulate the dollar, this is a big problem, and I'll explain that here in a moment. But in a tweet, the president said if America doesn't act, the country will continue being the dummies who sit back and politely watch as other countries continue to play their games as they have for so many years. Trump's own Treasury Department in May found that no country meets the criteria of being labeled a currency manipulator, although the report did put China and 8 other countries on a watch list. Let me just stop right there for a moment. So first things first, Donald Trump, people tend to love him or hate him, and he's really polarizing. I am in the category of I probably piss off a bunch of people because I don't necessarily love him or hate him. I think you've got to be blind as a bat not to see things that are positive about Trump. But I think you also are living in denial if you don't recognize that he's got some tremendous glaring faults. One is he's ushering in the world of cryptocurrency. Maybe you see that as a positive because he is literally taking policy actions that are hurting the USD as a currency. And this is one of them. He's talking about doing something that has never been done before publicly or in U.S. It's never been done. It's never been, I guess you could say, admitted, because I think you can make an argument that it's been done before, but it's never really been publicly admitted that the U.S. was trying to manipulate or devalue or debase their own currency. Now, this is a problem, by the way, for the average man and woman out there who's saved up a retirement. If they devalue your dollar, that means your dollars are going to buy less goods overall. And we live in a global economy. So if they devalue the US dollar, that means that it will take more dollars for companies to buy products from overseas or to buy exports from overseas. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, why would he want to do this? Well, one reason to do it, the positive of it, is that it would make your goods and services far cheaper for other countries to buy them. So it would increase the number of exports that went out of the country. Now, the question is this a net negative or a net positive for the country? I don't know that I don't know that that's the best way to put it. The best way to put it is this. This hurts some people and it helps some individual citizens in our country. If you're older and you've got a retirement plan and you've been saving your entire life and you've saved up a few $100,000, maybe you got $1 million in your retirement plan, and you're getting ready for retirement, this hurts you because this devalues the dollars that you have in your retirement plan. And you were earning those dollars at a time when they were a little bit more difficult to earn. They didn't come by as easy. And at the same time, this is good for job creation. So if you're, of a working age, especially if you are working some sort of labor skill or working directly in farming, agriculture, or any sort of industry that creates a lot of the U.S. exports a lot of things. Most people don't realize this. We export a lot of agriculture goods. But if you work in an industry where we have a lot of exports, then there's going to be more exports going out of the country if they devalue the currency. This is why China, and therefore creates more jobs, by the way. This is why China, everything's made in China. It's because things can be made so cheaply in China because China has been accused of devaluing their currency. And now, by the way, I want to point this out. Trump's own Treasury Department in May found that no country meets the criteria of being labeled a currency manipulator, although the report did list China and 8 other countries on a watch list. Now, I wanted to talk about this for a moment because my guess is this is political. The entire world sees this, and you don't want to piss off countries by saying blatantly that they're currency manipulators. So, I mean, I think it's fair to say China has manipulated their currency, especially if you look at some of the raw data over the years. I mean, their currency doesn't seem to fall in line with any other currency or any other international global movements, period. I mean, the country is doing something to keep their currency low. By the way, one more thing that I didn't point out, I'll get to that in a moment. Let's keep going. Because there's one big factor. If we devalue our currency, this could have systematic, catastrophic effects, which, by the way, would help usher in Bitcoin. Let's keep going. A country manipulates its currency when it drives down the value to make its exports cheaper and foreign imports more expensive, meaning things that we buy at Walmart become more expensive for everyone. Your dollars don't buy as much as they used to. As a candidate in 2016, Trump repeatedly charged that China was manipulating its currency, and as president, he would immediately label China as a currency manipulator. However, after taking office, Trump's Treasury Department has issued 5 reports on the subject, required by law every 6 months. In each report, it said no country met the criteria to be labeled a currency manipulator. Again, I don't buy that. By law, they have to put out these reports. It is not in the U.S. best political interest to call countries out as currency manipulators, so I don't necessarily buy that. Trump's tweets seem to have no impact in currency markets, a situation that would likely change if Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin began threatening to use currency manipulation to drive down the dollar's value. The Treasury Secretary has the job of commenting on the dollar's value and also implementing interventions to buy or sell dollars in currency markets to influence the dollar's value. U.S. administrations for decades have pledged in international communiques not to intervene in currency markets for the purpose of influencing trade flows. A weaker dollar, here's the big one. A weaker dollar would boost U.S. exports, but could run the risk of causing foreign investors who are helping to finance the federal government's debt of $22 trillion to move their investments elsewhere to avoid the risk of currency depreciation, lowering their returns. Now, this is huge. So if they were to weaken the dollar, and again, the fact that we have an American president actually saying this out loud is historic. Most people are not paying attention to this. But if you're in the cryptocurrency space and you believe in the technology of cryptocurrency and you believe in having a currency that is decentralized, that cannot be manipulated by a third party, this is why you care. Foreign investors who are helping finance the federal government's debt, meaning the only reason that the U.S. federal government can be in $22 trillion national debt, that is historically probably the largest debt that any nation has ever been in the world's history. Greece defaulted a few years ago, basically sort of kind of defaulted. They did a soft default. They defaulted off of, it was like just a few $1 billion, I think. It was nothing. The only way that we get away with that, the only reason the U.S. government gets away with this is because governments let us borrow money by basically buying our treasury bills. We're the world reserve currency. We're known as having a stable currency. So if President Trump or his administration or anyone happens to lower the value of the US dollar, it would be like if you held a bunch of Bitcoin and Bitcoins were all valued at, any arbitrary number. Say you had $100,000 worth of Bitcoin and they were valued at $10,000 each. So you had 10 Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden they dropped to $5,000. Now your $100,000 of Bitcoin just dropped to $50,000. And there's nothing you can do to get it back. Your investment just dropped. So when foreign investors are helping finance the federal government's debt, they don't want the value of the dollars to drop, because if the value of the dollars drops, then their value drops. And so that's not what they want to have happen. And that's Now you're talking about the US dollar potentially no longer being the world reserve currency. And if you don't understand that, you really need to watch the documentary Money as Debt. I'll be sure to try to put it at the end of this video. Money as Debt. You've got to watch that. Every middle-aged child in the world should watch that documentary. But this is, by the way, another one here says that seeking data from the Government Accountability's Office confirmed last year's predicted spending spree in early fiscal 2019 suggests historic spending levels continued. And they're going to continue to spend money because all you have to watch is the Democratic Party right now in the debates. You know, how many of you would give free health care to illegal immigrants? Illegal immigrants, people who broke the law. How many of you would give free health care? And unanimously, everybody on the stage raised their hand, like 9 of them raised their hand. Where's that coming from? It's coming from hardworking men and women and hardworking legal immigrants to this country. And they're giving it to the illegal immigrants. Where's the money coming from? We're already in debt. We can't afford it, but they're still spending. It doesn't stop. So somebody called it the free shit fairy. That's essentially what it is. It's all about giving somebody something for nothing. And all of us, honestly, on some level, all of us have probably gotten something for nothing, whether we realize it or not, because our government is in so much debt. Trump wants a weaker dollar to help boost exports. Trump's focus on the dollar surfaced last month after the European Central Bank said it might ease policy prompting. Where is it at? There was something I wanted to see here. This is just another one talking about currency manipulating. So at this rate, this is right on track for Bitcoin to one day be worth $1 million. And this is why it's going to happen, because governments, and I don't think it's going to happen at all in the Trump administration. And I don't think it's going to happen necessarily in the next administration. But we're moving to a place where eventually it starts with governments. International governments will not have faith in the US dollar. And eventually, at this rate, one day the citizens no longer have faith in the US dollar. But you want to be buying up Bitcoin, or at least I want to be. I can only speak for myself. You do what you want to, because this is risky. But I want to be buying up Bitcoin before that time comes. You think about this for a moment. We are in a time in history where we are watching technology unfold that is going to be so pivotal to civilizations around the world. And most people truly are not aware of how incredible this technology is and what this is right now. Like, it just blows my mind all the time when I think about it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that bell notification icon. And let me know down in the comments, what do you think about this, about these articles that I've talked about today? What do you think about a U.S. president talking about publicly talking about manipulating, devaluing, debasing our currency, which hurts everyone who's ever saved, for retirement or anything like that. Like, that's just mind-boggling to me. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Have a great day.